I'm doing this on my laptop because we all know what happens to my desktop, right? Every week I freeze and then I'm in a really awkward spot for like a minute. So I'm doing this way. So, all right, guys. All right, so it is the last 2 days of the month. I don't know about you guys, but I have noticed, my numbers are low for January for what a typical January should be. And I kind of shared this in a group message thread that I'm in with a couple of my people. And I just kind of wanted to share it with you guys too, because the worst thing that you guys can think is like you're doing something wrong, right? And so I just want to share, like, I anticipated having about 30 personally sponsored coaches that were like 2018, 2019 in Success Club, right? Because that's kind of what I thought my poll would be, and have seven. Like that was, and then out of all the coaches that I signed up in January, I have 2 that even like have 1 point on the board, right? And I'm not going to lie to you, like I have been busting my tail to try to get them there. Like I haven't done anything different. I'm still showing up. I'm still doing my thing. And I'm trying to sort of navigate why, like what could be the reason why. And so I'm kind of feeling like it's just across the board that it just isn't what I expected January to be this year. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but I also will tell you that I refuse. This is what I said to my husband. Like, I refuse to go down without a fight. So I will tell you that I put on my big girl pants. Remember how I shared with you guys, like sometimes I just do things I don't really want to do. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to put all these people in a group message thread, and we're going to run sneak peeks. So I haven't been running the sneak peeks. Like Deidre was doing one, and I was like, Deidre, can my people jump on yours? She's like, sure. And then the night before, Rachel Mitchell and a bunch of girls were doing, I'm like, can I jump on yours? And so I've been just asking if I can sort of jump in and help out where I can. And that really has been helpful. But then also I have been like, okay, Melanie, if you want your people to do work, then you have to show them how to do it, because I find that literally my new coaches will copy and paste what I'm doing. So I have been creating things for them. So I was like, okay, I did all my follow-ups. I copied, posted that into the message thread. I posted it in the team page. I created Instagram stories, and then I just gave it to them in our team page. And then I was like, copy and use this, right? And so I've really been spoon feeding them, and trying to help them. And I started this group message thread, and there was quite a bit of people in there, but then I found a lot of people weren't responding. So last night I went through my Coach Online office, and everybody that had a point on the board, I sent them a personal message, right? And so I had 3 snippets that I saved on just on a Word document on my computer. I was like, if they have 1 point, say this. If they have 2 points, say that. If they have 4 points, say this. And so I could just easily copy paste and go down the list. And it allowed those people that were afraid to talk in that group message thread to actually talk to me one-on-one. And so one of the things last night, you know how you do something and you're like, I really don't want to do this, but then once you do it, you're you have an aha moment. So I had an aha moment last night. So I have a coach that's new, and she is she started out the conversation I don't have time, I'm disorganized, and I don't even know where to start, so I just don't start at all. And so the more I talked, and she said, and I lack confidence. And so the more I talked to her, I was like, okay, I'm not going to put up a wall. I'm just going to talk, right? And so I was like, okay, so why do you feel like you're lacking confidence? And I'm like, in organization, you understand that that's completely in your control. I was like, sit down, get your business activity tracker, say, I'm just going to do the things on number 2 because I know that I can do that. I said, and then just do the assignments in the training, block everything out, team calls, things that I'm throwing at you, just block it all out. And she goes, and I said, then she goes, I don't even know what my why is. And I was like, okay, so why are you here? She goes, because I really want to help other people. She goes, I get such great joy out of, seeing other people have success. And I was like, okay, then you have to look at your business like this. I go, you're being selfish if you don't invite people, right? You every single day have the opportunity to send an invite that somebody on the other side of that computer screen is desperately needing, and you could give them hope. And she goes, that's it. That's totally the blocker for me. She goes, I was looking at it as a sale, and I wasn't looking at it as I was changing somebody's life. And she was like, that's all I needed. And then we spent 5 minutes going through how to get herself organized, and off and running she went. And I was like, okay, sometimes I have to do things I don't want to do in my business, but look how I was able to kind of reach down and help somebody that may have quit otherwise. And so that was just my little moment, right? That was my little moment that I had last night. As much as I was like, I don't want to sit here and do this. I did it anyways. And then I went and watched a movie with my kids, and it paid off. So, I mean, she didn't get any points yet, but I feel like I connected with her in a way that was like, that's value added to me, right? That sometimes that makes me feel better than sometimes the points on the board. All right. So I want to tell you, I'm not stopping, and I'm going to do my best, because one thing that I'm just really focused on, and this is like a personal growth thing for me, is I always look at everything I didn't accomplish for the month. Like, oh, I didn't get the number of recruits I wanted, or, oh, I didn't get the right number of people in Success Club, or, oh, like this isn't working the way I wanted it. And I'm really trying to be like recognize the small things in my business. Like, okay, so-and-so made their first post. This person sold their first challenge pack. This person shared their transformation, right? The 7 people that did hit Success Club, oh my gosh, like they moved their business forward, right? And so I'm just really like, I know we're going to get to that point at the end of the month where we're going to start comparing and reflecting. And so really just like leaning into, what did you accomplish? Like, what are the wins that you are having? And kind of starting with that positive mindset versus all the things you didn't accomplish. So just some of my little like things that I've been taking away from my personal development and personal growth. And I like to share that with you guys too, because I feel like you need to know you're not alone, that like the challenge is the same for all of us, no matter where we're at in building our business. All right. But I also know one more thing before I turn it over to Joan is this. What we do in January, right? So like so many of you are like, I posted about the business opportunity every single day and nobody signed up, or one person signed up, right? There's that compound effect, and that compound effect is gonna happen. You just may see it in February, so don't let your foot off the gas, or don't let yourself say, this isn't working, I'm going to change my strategy, because it's going to work. Like, you just have to be patient with the process. All right. Brittany, they went from asking a ton of questions to some of them now helping each other. Yes, it does build. I agree. I know. And Brittany was like, oh my gosh, how do you deal with this? They are sucking the life out of me. Like, even Brittany was saying that, and I was like, you just do. Some people ask a lot of questions, and then some people just go and do. So yeah. But hopefully that message thread will help. All right. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. So Joan Crocker is our special guest today. And she has been a Beachbody coach for 5 years, and you're a 5-time elite coach, and she is 10-star diamond. And the one thing I love about Joan that I know she's going to talk about is like, she's on a dead leg. And she literally built her business and quit her full-time job within 6 months. Is that right? Okay. Good. I'm doing this from memory. And so I really love just the mindset, but there have been some like obstacles that have sort of come about, along the way. And so today we are going to talk about like recruiting and that mindset, but she's really going to kind of dive in and share what's working, what hasn't worked, like kind of how she's tweaked this along the way. Cause I know that that's a big thing for all of us, is really focusing on the recruitment piece and attracting the right people. All right. So Joan, welcome, and you can take it away.
Cool. Thanks. Hi, Katie. So I'm super psyched to be here, and I'm like looking at all the babies on the video. Like, our calls don't have any babies, so I'm like, babies. And I wanted to start by sharing my story. I'm not sure if anybody here has heard any of my story, so if you have, just bear with me. But for me, I was the person who said I would never coach. So my husband signed up first, and I was like, good luck. I want nothing to do with that. That's not for me. At the time, I was going through a very, very heavy depression. I had lost my father to suicide. I had my grandmother in the ICU. I had been laid off from my job all at once. And so I started emotionally eating, and I was just covering up all of those negative feelings and those depressive thoughts with food. And it got to a point where I stepped on the scale and I was like almost 200 pounds, and I'm 5'7". So I was like, this is not where I should be. And I had kind of like a freak out moment. And really, literally later that day, I saw 2 friends doing insanity on Facebook. And so I messaged them and I was like, is that something that I could do? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Just go as hard as you can. take a break when you need to. But if you do it and you follow that to a T, you will get the best results of your life. And so that just kept like running through my head, like take a break when you need to, but like you'll get the best results of your life. So I came home and I told Ryan and I was like, I want to buy this insanity program like from you. And he was like, we're going to sign you up as a coach. And I was like, no. And we literally sat there and we thought about it. And he finally just convinced me because I just didn't want to fight anymore. And I literally walked through the website with him over my shoulder, showing me how to sign up as a coach, telling me that I needed Shakeology, all of that stuff. And then I slammed my laptop shut and I said, are you happy? And I walked off. And so that is my journey for how I signed up to become a coach. So I got Insanity in the mail. And I did, you guys. I followed it to a T. I didn't actually even look at the nutrition program. I drank my Shakeology and I followed the Insanity like workouts to a T. And I just realized that through that program, I was naturally starting to make better choices with my nutrition because I was working so hard that I didn't want to like screw up all the hard work that I had just done that day in my workout. I was keeping myself accountable because I was crossing off the days on that calendar. And so I didn't want to mess up. It was like kind of like like you've done 8 in a row, like don't screw up on day 9, So like I kept going. And during that time, I lost, I think 27 inches off my body, 30 pounds, but more so it's like I completely changed on the inside. I would cry through my workouts. I would swear at Shanti. But I just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually went through a complete shift. And I finally had myself back. I finally had energy. I finally was happy again. And people were noticing that. And so when they started noticing it, that's when I was like, okay, like I kind of get this whole thing. Like, you feel good. Other people notice it. They want to feel good. They start asking you about it. Like maybe this coaching thing is something that I could do. And so because Ryan never thought I would ever coach ever, he put me on his weak leg, but Ryan really wasn't working the business. So every single person on that leg I've put there or my team has put there. There's never been a single person who's placed somebody underneath my team or in my downline. So I want to really hit that home because like it truly is all my team's effort and my own effort. So if you're in a dead leg, it doesn't matter. You can still be super successful in this business. And so I literally came home from a trip out west and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I just said, I will do whatever it takes. I will do whatever it takes to make this happen for myself. And so I did the hard work of putting up the before and after and doing all of that stuff. And I didn't even know what a challenge group was, you guys. Like nobody told me what a challenge group was. All of a sudden I saw somebody posting online like what a challenge group was. And I was like, oh, that seems like something that would be like, good to attract customers and coaches. And so I messaged Chris Reed and I was like, because he's Ryan's upline. And I was like, hey, what are these challenge group things? And he was like, oh, you should do that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, what is it? And so I started doing challenge groups. Within that first like promotion of a challenge group on social media, I ended up having like 60 people in there. I let people in for free. I let people in that bought something. But within my very first month of coaching, I made $1,200. And so with that $1,200, and it wasn't all like, oh, here's your check for $1,200. It was weekly. And so with that, I all of a sudden had that like aha moment too of, oh my gosh, that covers our rent payment. That covers like my cell phone bill. And I didn't have to touch my salary. So like, what if I just went full tilt at this? Like, what could I do? And so I did. And it became like an obsession. And I was working 40 to 50 hours a week at my full-time job. I was an SEO and social media specialist for a local web marketing company. And so I was working there. I was throwing these things called tweet ups for people who were on Twitter to meet in person and like gather. So I was doing those things. And then I started this. And so when I started doing this, some things had to go and I had to sacrifice some things in order to make it work for me because I had that deeper goal of going full time and making this something that could make it so I no longer had to wake up to an alarm clock, which really, you guys, I know we hear everybody say that all the time, but for me, like that was a really, really big thing. Like when I was a little kid, like a small child. I complained to my parents every single day that I had to get up early for school. I was like, I don't get this. You have to go to school Monday through Friday. That's 5 days a week. You only get 2 days to yourself. You graduate and the whole thing just like continues. Like I was having like a crisis as a kid about this. And so it was a huge goal of mine once I saw that potential to get the heck out of that. And so I was like, okay, what can I do differently? So I would spend my lunch hour working my business instead of going off with my coworkers for an hour like I used to and just messing around. I would come home directly after work on the days that I could instead of going to like a happy hour or something like that. I was not a morning person, like I said. So I would do my workout, I would cook dinner really quick, and then I would sit down with my laptop. And I would work from probably 8 o'clock at night until midnight or 1 a.m. And literally like midnight would hit and I'd be like, okay, I'm on the East Coast. Like who's awake on the West Coast? And like, I'd start like trying to friend people over there and reach out to people over there. And I'd make it like a game with myself. Like, who can I sign up tonight? Like, let's talk to enough people that somebody actually signs up. And that's what I would do. And before that, I used to go to bed at 10 every night, like literally would fall asleep in front of the TV, like no matter if I was trying to watch something or not, like 10 p.m. I was asleep. And now I was staying up till 1 or 2 a.m. doing this business. I said no to going off to like weekends at Sugarloaf, which is a ski mountain here, because I was like, Wi-Fi is spotty. I'm not gonna be able to work my business well. I had my phone out at dinners. Like I did not care. I was like, this is short-term sacrifice. Like this is what we're doing right now to make it so that we can do whatever later. And so that's how I worked my business my first year. And because like I was having those successes because I was just running, I was like just running at things. I was like at this all-time high. Like I was just pumped, like the workouts work and I feel amazing and I have energy and like this business is amazing and I'm working and like it's so good. Like, and that energy was just like coming off me. So it was like a magnet, right? Like people were like, I don't even care what you're selling. I want it. And so I was like meditating all the time. Like my energy was so good. My mind was in the right space. And that very first year I went from coach to 6-star elite coach in 1 year and quit my job within 6 months. So when I say I matched my salary within 6 months, it was like paycheck for paycheck at that point was like matching. It wasn't like, oh, you've replaced the whole thing. So then we made that decision and I left so that I could go full time. So that was like kind of my coaching journey and what I did to get there. But the reason why I kind of wanted to like start the call with that is that I wanted to talk about that energy and that momentum that I had created. And then how I kind of fell off a bit from that because you get used to things and you start like just forgetting how awesome things are. You forget how grateful you are for this opportunity. You can almost start like just assuming everybody's heard your story. You can start assuming that everybody knows what you're doing. And you kind of start changing the way like you post and changing the way that you're feeling towards this. And that has like a drastic effect on your business. So not that I've, failed in any way. Like I went 8-star the next year and I went 10-star the following year. And I've, continued to be elite and grown my second business center and things like that. But I didn't have that same momentum. And so I started looking at things and I'm like, what has changed? Like, let's do an audit. Like sometimes we look over at other people's, social medias and we're like, what are they doing? Like, what is this successful person doing that's working for them? Okay, let's look at this successful person too. And then we kind of look at those common things that they have going on and we're like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it to myself. Like, what was I doing in 2014 that I'm not doing now? Because like, yes, social media changes and that sort of thing, but we all know that like Instagram is basically like Facebook, like you're just moving the tool that you're using. It's the same stuff. So I started looking and I was like, oh my God, like I was relating everything back to coaching, like absolutely everything in my life that I was able to do, I was relating back to coaching. So if it was that I was babysitting my nephew, right? It was like I was able to babysit my nephew in the middle of the day because this business allows me to do that. If it was going to the grocery store, I was talking about how the money that I made from Beachbody allowed me to do that. If it was not waking up to an alarm clock, if it was talking about like Monday mornings or Sunday nights and that dready, that dread that you had in your stomach about going to your job. If I talk about like that, I'm like coaches, like it's all I hang out with. And so I started talking about that. Like if I'm going, on a family vacation, every single thing that I do, whether it's even getting up in the afternoon to be able to just like go take my dog out or, grab a snack from the fridge or whatever that might be, I've started going back and talking about that again and relating it back to this business and why I am so grateful for this business, because it is the really, really small things. Like when we start talking about 6-figure incomes and those sorts of things, it might like excite a few people, but a lot of people will feel like they can't accomplish that, but they can accomplish, you know, paying down debt. They can accomplish like not having to freak out at the grocery store, you know, sorry, my dog's barking, at the grocery store, you know, because they don't think that their card's going to go through, or that they can't put gas in their car. They can like relate to all of that stuff. And I think as we grow in this business, we forget about those small things. And so that's what I've been doing lately. That's been really working for me. The other thing is, in the beginning, I was, yes, super excited about my results. And of course I was proof the product works. Obviously I lost all that weight, but more so I was talking about how this business changed my life, not just the weight loss. And somehow too, through the years, I had shifted to talking more about challenge groups and talking more about like fitness over this business. And so I've tweaked that back as well. And with that, I'm starting to see more recruits for people who are interested in building this business from the get-go, sharing their journey on the way. And so if you look at my social media now, with Instagram specifically, you'll notice that most of my posts are lifestyle posts, family posts, those sorts of things, and they all relate back to what coaching has done for me. There's the occasional post in there of like a before and after picture of me, or a fitness type post of myself, but I kind of do like a 4-to-1 ratio of that. Like, so I'm talking mostly about business, and then like the 5th picture, so I'll sprinkle in like either a picture of myself as a before and after, a challenger, or like just like me like feeling good and talking about my health and fitness in some way, so that people do see that, but mostly they're going to see that I'm a happy person who's running a business and hustling. So that's on my feed. Now on my stories, I'm doing the whole, I'm going to show you what I do on a daily basis. So I show them that I wake up and I snuggle with my dog. I show them that I drink coffee. I show them that I read PD. I show them that I drink Energize every single day. I don't call it Energize. Most of the time I don't say anything, but if I do, I say it's like my happy juice, because literally, I really do think Energize is my happiest time of the day. So I might be addicted. So I share that. I dance around. I'm really silly and weird on there because that's who I am. Like half the time Ryan looks at me and he's like, you know, like, Ryan's my husband, like, what are you doing? And it's almost as if I don't realize like other people are around and I'm just being weird. So I've started sharing that on Instagram because I want people to see, like, when you sign up with me, who you actually get, right? I don't want to put up a different brand than who I am, because once they sign up, they want to be with who they thought you were, not the brand that you're representing. And so I share that. I share my workout every single day. Every day after my workout, you will probably hear the words come out of my mouth, oh my God, I think I just died. And then I'll be like, I feel like I say that every single day, but I literally just died. And then I talk about the workout and how I push through, but that challenge is good for me. Those things are on my Instagram every single day. And then I go into, I'm meeting up with friends at a coffee shop to work, or I'm, dropping Ryan off at this place, or I'm, bringing the dog out. I'm jumping on a call with my team. I'm jumping on a call with my leaders. I just said this morning I was jumping on to talk to you guys. But that is like what I want to show, is that once they start watching my stories, they're going to see I'm into fitness. They're going to see the fitness thing. I share that every single day. But I want my feed to talk more about like what this fitness thing has done for me. And then the other biggest tweak that I made is I started talking about coaching in my stories too, but more so like talking to the person, like to the camera, instead of just constantly doing the polls, instead of constantly doing like the lists or the CTA and, in the post or whatever on there. I'm just talking to people. And I'm like, I'm running this group. It's a sneak peek into what I do. You guys watch me every single day. I'm not sure if you've ever considered doing it. Like, this group's going to be like 3 days. I'm just going to throw up a few videos. Like, if you want in, you should let me know. I'm going to talk income progression, what we do, yada, yada, yada. And I literally make it just as like chill and laid back as I just did with you guys right now. Like, I am not trying to fancify it or anything like that. And then I don't put a poll up for it. I just have started messaging those who like that story or have watched that story with the link to the sneak peek. And that's been a big game changer for me too, because it's making them take a step. So like what's really fun is when you start talking about these sneak peeks and then you send out a little message invite with that link and you wake up the next morning and people have like requested to be in your group. And you're like, whoa, look, this works. And then you accept them. And then so that's one thing. So that's step one, is like talking about it in your stories. Step two is going ahead and sending them the invite to it with the link so they add themselves. You're not adding them. And then what they're going to get greeted with when they first get in that sneak peek is me putting up a post where I am positioning myself as I have something you want and I'm not taking everybody. So I will literally say, like, this business has changed my life in every single way imaginable. But I only want to work with the people who are really good fit for this and who truly want it. And those people are going to be the ones who show up in this sneak peek, who engage with my posts, who comment on them, who start asking questions, and really take advantage of these 3 days to get this knowledge. And I go, so your first step of engagement is you drop a selfie with a fun fact about yourself. So right then and there, you're already starting to like weed out people, right? Like, because if they're not taking that step, then you're like, okay, they're not really going to pay attention to this group. I don't do the whole, I'm going to message them and say, oh, I just put a video up, you should watch it. I'm not going to keep trying to tag them in each post that I put up, because I don't want to coach that later on in my team page I have to tag for every team call and like tell them about every training. Like, I want them just to show up like I did. Like, I didn't have that, like, I had no systems handed to me. I didn't know what a challenge group was. And it made me a better coach, you guys, because I had to go out there and find the freaking information myself. And so I want people like me. So if it was me, that's what I would have done. So that's what I want. And so that's what the first step is. So I usually do them on Wednesdays, and I have them run from Wednesday through Friday, and then Saturday they can, sign up or message me for more questions and things like that. So the content that I put in there. So the first post is, what to expect in the group and stuff. I just told you that one. The second post is the live video that I do on Wednesday, which is really just a 10-minute or less live video. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell my mindset before I got into coaching, the challenges that I faced when I first got started, the hustle, and all of like the, what do we call them? Like the sacrifices, like it's not really a sacrifice, the sacrifices that we went through to get where we are. I'm going to share that story with them. I'm going to share with them that mindset that I just shared with you about how like I didn't want to be somewhere 9 to 5 days a week for the rest of my life. I'm going to share all of those things. And I dig a little bit deeper into my story, but I try to keep it like 10 minutes and really do so that they can start seeing themselves in it. And that's it. And then I just say, look out for the next post tomorrow. And then on Thursday, I put up a live and I talk about all of the objections that I know I'm going to get from them. The money objection, the I'm not perfectly fit, the time thing, my spouse isn't going to be supportive of this. Like, I don't want to be salesy. I'm worried about what people think. I don't know enough people. I don't know how, like all of it. I talk about all of it and why it's all crap. And like, I give them reasons why that's actually a reason why they should. And so that's that video. And then the final video is income. They all want to know about income. So that day, earlier in the day, I put up a post that is my income progression. And I only show it up to 6 figures. I don't think that they need to know how much money anybody makes in this business. I just think they need to know that you can make that journey to 6 figures and kind of that timeline. So I talk a little bit about that. And then when I go live that day, again, I try to keep all videos like 10 minutes or less, because I just know that people have I have a very short attention span. So if I'm talking to me, I know I'm not going to listen longer than that. So I go live and I talk about how you earn the money real quick. And I just give like the basic like overview. Like, I don't go into any detail. I kind of give them what's possible. I might give them some examples of other people that are in this business that were nurses or, whatever, moms, like whatever it is, and what they've earned or what they've been able to do. And then I say, and all it takes to get there is like that hustle that I explained to you in that first video, right? So like, that's how they know how to do it. And then I put up the application, and on it, I say, I'm only taking 5 people from this group. And you can do whatever number you want, but I say, I'm only taking 5 people from this group. And I explain why. That if I'm working with a wave of people that are really interested, and I find the people that really want it, and they're going to do it together, that those waves of people will start promoting together and helping each other. And so that I want to set them up for the best success, and I want to be able to give them my best time. And so that's what I do. So that's what I've been doing. That's been really working for me lately. And I feel like I've finally gotten to a place where I'm starting to attract more builders again, instead of just challengers. And not that challengers aren't great, but I've never been the person who has like people in my challenge group with like huge results that are like, yay, I want to coach. Like, probably because like the challenge groups aren't my favorite thing, right? But that's also because I wasn't in one. Like, so that's really what I've tweaked and what I've been doing that's been working. I do think January has been difficult as well. However, I do have 4 of my new coaches in Success Club, like my brand new coaches from this month. And then I have like one of my other ones that counted from, she was signed up last year. And I had 2. So this isn't a perfect thing, you guys. I had 2 people who signed up their very first coach, and then they like quit like a week later. So I'm like, okay, I guess I get that point for like the 1P as coach, but like, where'd you go? Like, so it is working well for me. That's what I have.
So I feel like a couple of just questions, because lately, have you noticed like your Facebook groups, you're not like, people aren't seeing content like they were before? Like, I noticed that like what we did, I did a sneak peek this week and nobody saw it. I actually had to go and message everybody and say, make sure your notifications are turned on, right? Make sure that, here's the link back to the Facebook group. So I wonder if like you saying these are the expectations right from the get-go, that they're like knowing to do that. Like, I don't know, was there anything you've done a little differently?
So they did change the rules in Facebook. Did you add the people yourself, or did they add themselves?
They requested to join.
They requested to join, yeah. Because I was going to say, if you're adding people yourselves right now, those people, unless they like legit go in there and start interacting, will be moved to a different list where they're not going to see your stuff. They're still in there, but they won't see it. So I do one, like on Saturday, I do one quick group message out to all of them. Like, I'll do it individually and I'll just say all videos are up, like, but that's the only thing I do. I haven't really experienced them not seeing things though, because I do see like this was seen at the bottom of like the posts and the videos. So I'm unsure why that would be.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just noticed that like the interaction hasn't been real great in the last couple of like sneak peeks that I've been doing. But it did make a difference when I sent them a message, and it was like the first at the end of day 1, and I was like, nobody's seeing anything. So I actually sent a message. I was like, hey guys, Facebook's being weird. If you don't turn on your notifications, you won't actually see it in your news feed. Here's the link to the group. Make sure you go in and check it out. And then right after that, I noticed more people were engaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So, I mean, what you did worked though.
Yeah, it did. But I really like the expectations, and think it was last week we talked about like expectations for coaches, but I feel like expectations for a sneak peek really makes people like, this is what I expect from you, like expect you to actually engage. And you only do 1 video a day, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. And I mean, I've done sneak peeks so many ways. Like I started doing them and it was like a week long, and then I started doing 5-day, and then I did do 3 days for a while there. And then I broke it down into an hour, and I would have a post that went live every 5 minutes, and like people would just like be like, boom, and like get in there and do it. But I felt like it was like a lot of information at once. And there was maybe some fluff in there, and I was like, they just need like to see my face talking to them. And so that's what I changed it to. And it seems to be working a lot better than the other ones.
So just curious, why have you chosen to do them just you versus like having your coaches in there doing it with you?
Yeah. So I've done it in the past with coaches, and I've been like, okay, I want you in here so that the energy is up and there's all that engagement. But I think that smaller groups work better for me, because then I can literally see every single person in there. I know who they are because I invited them. And then, there's that connection because they're seeing me too. They're not just seeing this random face pop up that they're like, wait, I'm seeing if Joan's going to be my coach, but now I'm seeing this other person and I don't know who they are. Yeah. And so because of that, but also I wanted to try it this way just for a little bit without my team and see how it worked, and then say, you can do this too. And here's my template. It's really easy. You just go live 3 times and have them start doing it themselves.
So do people genuinely do that, or are they still pretty hesitant? Like, I still get asked, like, can I add my people to your sneak peek? Do you just say no? You do. You say no.
I do. I just say no. Melanie, people pleaser.
Totally like guilty, absolutely guilty. So
I do. I say no because, like I said, it's going to make them better at coaching if they just go off and do it on their own. However, they do have the template from our last one that we all ran together. So I'm like, if you want to just go and like still do it the old way, and you can, put all of them in there, schedule the posts out so that it's just, you add them and then it's all there for you. You still have me helping you out. You still have my videos. You still have the other people's videos or the other posts. So if you're not comfortable doing this at first, you can do that. The other question I'll get is, but I don't have like 6 figures yet, or I don't have like the, income that you do yet. And so I'm like, use other people's examples. Like, there was a post in the roundtable a few weeks ago where a lot of people were sharing their income progression. So I took those and I put them in a file section on the team page. And I was like, here, if you're running a sneak peek and you want to share something other than your own, you can use this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my back of my mind, I'm like, well, if I don't do it and offer it for them, then they're just not going to invite to coaching. I would say that's probably what goes through my mind.
But if you don't do it and you think that that is what's going to happen.
Totally. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, right?
Yeah.
And then, because when I first started doing this, I had read Keith's book, and I really loved the way that he, positions himself, Keith Callahan. And then I, had heard a call by Mandy Kai, and she had talked about how she runs her groups. And I was like, you know what? Like, but if I just put it out there that I'm not taking everybody, or that I expect you to be engaged and then they didn't, like, what do I do? Like, do I still like reach out to each one of them and sign them? And I cause they won't do that, but I just did it anyways. I sent the link. Christina Battaglia is actually the one who recommended, like, she's like, oh, I just send people links and they add themselves. So I gathered like little pieces from lots of people and I created my own little thing. And I was just like, whoever needs this will see it, and it's out of my hands. And that's what I've done, and it started working. So
I love it. So do you keep the same group every week, or do you?
I do. I actually keep the people in there too. I'm not going to take them out because I feel like maybe it'll hit them at the right time. But I delete all the content when it's over on like Sunday, and then I'll run it every other week. And so this week I'm actually starting one today.
Yeah. Okay. I saw one of the girls ask, like, would you share your template for kind of what you do? But I mean, I don't know if it's anything different than what you had shared on
It's
here.
exactly what I just said. I do have like an image that just, it's an image that I put in there that shares like what each day will be. Like, that's my beginning post, so they can see that. So I can share that with you. And then I just make a live video on each. So my videos are always different. So there's really no template. I just get on there and talk.
Idea of creating an image so they can see like what you're going to talk about each day. Yeah, I like that. Awesome. I'm writing myself a note.
Yeah, do it.
Totally my style. Simple. Yes, I agree. If they don't join the sneak peek, do you go back and invite them again?
I mean, not like right away, but like if they watched another story where I did, I'm not going to prejudge. I just send it again. Yeah. I kind of like Melanie with her polls.
I was like, I'm going to invite you. And if you're a coach, you're just going to tell me you're a coach and I'm going to move on and we're going to be done.
Time saver.
I know.
You have issues
sending Facebook links on Instagram? I don't. Do you?
I don't. Sometimes people have told me that they have a hard time with it. So I have realized that if you just go to like a Facebook group and you copy the link at the top and that's the one you're using, that sometimes somebody will be like, oh, I can't get there, or I can't access it. But if I go into Facebook and then hit the share button, I think you do this from your phone. Hit the share button and you can say copy link. If I use that link, it works. And if you look at it, it is different. At the end of it, it says share or something like that at the end of that URL. So try that. And if not, then I'm just like, all right, friend me and I'll add you. Like, so.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. So simple is the key. And I feel like people are constantly overcomplicating the process, of what we have to do. So I do agree, like simple is good. But I think that you do a really good job of talking about the business on your social media. So when people come into that sneak peek, they have already been watching you. Like, you're constantly telling the story over and over again. And it's not just fitness, because I think a lot of times people just post fitness and nutrition and that kind of stuff, and they forget that's the connector for people, being able to see your story and you share how it's working for you. And then they're like ready when they go into that sneak peek. They really want to know more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that it differentiates you too. Like, if you go and you look at every Beachbody coach's, Instagram across the planet, it's like before and afters and fitness related posts and sweaty selfies, and you can see like their loops and sliders in the picture. You can see like their mat, or like their shaker cup, or like whatever it is. And I think like the thing in this business that makes us the most different is ourselves, right? So when we're talking about how this business has changed us, I feel like that is more like lifestyle, and it is your financial story, and it is like your inner confidence, and it is those sorts of things, or just like the ability to do things that you weren't able to do before. And when, Autumn is actually the one who said this on one of the calls that she did for us, but she was like, for somebody to look at me and see that I'm fit, it's like, yeah, great, you're Autumn Calabrese, you're a trainer. She was like, but when somebody sees that so-and-so that's their neighbor did my program and lost weight, then they're like, oh, I can do it because that person is like me. And so I feel like we have to apply that to our business too. And so we need to talk about those like struggles before Beachbody, or be honest. And if you're still struggling right now, talk about those struggles, about how this business is helping you get where you want to be, because that's like what the game changer is. And then they can see like the fitness part, like like put up a post like once every, 3 or 4 posts, I would say, and show your fitness every single day on Instagram and stories and talk about that. But it is like the business piece that I think that most people are afraid to talk about. And at the same time, when you attract people who want to do this business with you, it's how your life's going to change the most.
So can you give some confidence tips real quick? So 3 people that are like, or 3 tips for like, I'm not confident in sharing the business. How do they become confident?
Yeah. So number 1, and it's interesting that you started talking about this when you first got on the call, about how you were chatting with that person and talking about how you switch it to helping people. Yeah. So when I had already said I was going to coach, right? I already said I would do what anybody told me to do. But I did have that fear of like what other people would think of me, or coming off salesy. And so I don't know if any of you follow Gabby Bernstein, but I've literally like read her stuff since like 2013. Mm-hmm. And I messaged her directly. This is back really early, like in, I think it was January of 2014. And I said, hey, what do you do when you know what you have to offer somebody can change their life? And it can change their life because it's changed your own, but you're afraid to like reach out to people. You're afraid to come off salesy. You're afraid to like, just to reach out and do it. And she said to me, be unapologetic about the service behind the business and everything will fall into place. Mm-hmm. So I just had that like reminder just continually on replay through my head. And so before I would sit down, and this is a trick that you can use, but before I would sit down to reach out, I would say, okay, I am going to start reaching out right now to that person that wants to spend more time with their family, to that person who is struggling and fighting with their spouse because they're in debt, to that person who, wants to desperately be home with their baby instead of dropping them off every day at daycare, to that person who hates the way they look in the mirror right now. Like, I owe it to them. I owe it to them to reach out to them and put my own fear aside. I am helping them. I am being of service to them. So that was number 1. And that got me out of my own head. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is I always need to be filling my brain with like personal development for myself, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and the business side of it. So like, I can't do the business crap if the other stuff isn't in order, right? Like, it's great. Like for me, it's like, I understand the compound effect. I understand the slight edge. I understand, Grant Cardone and Dave Ramsey and all of those guys. And they're fantastic and their message is awesome. But if you can't get out of your own head, you're never going to do the work. So for me, Gabby, I fill my head with her all day, every day. There's a free lecture on Spotify. It's called Manifesting Your Desires. I used to listen to that on replay when I was a coach my first year, on replay. Her book, Add More Ink to Your Life, chapter 10 is called The Knowing Equation. I practiced that every single night before I went to bed. And the knowing equation is just that you will say to yourself what your goal is. Basically, you're asking for your desire, but you're putting behind it why it's going to serve the world. So that's what I did every single day. Meditation every single day. And so those were like my tricks and tools for being able to get the heck out of my own way so that I would just do this. And then like the rest of it, you guys, once that's taken care of, like once you've gotten rid of those like fears, and you never really get rid of them, you just kind of work through them. But once you get rid of those fears that are blocking you from what you want, you just start going, you just start doing the things. And then the more you do the things, like the less fearful you become. Like inaction breeds fear. So like the only way through it is just to do it. And so I read those books. So PD and realizing that you're serving other people, the knowing equation and meditation, those are like my tricks for that.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That was really wonderful.
Yeah.
Guys, do you have any other questions for Joan before we end our call? Any feedback? Takeaways? Are the majority of your invites which you mentioned sharing the link to your sneak peek?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I literally will just be like, dude, this is last minute. Like group starts tomorrow, but I saw you watched my story. Just going to quickly have like 3 videos in there that go over like what I do, what it's about, income progression, that sort of thing. Like here's a link if you want to add yourself. That's it. And that is my mantra this year, is like keep everything like ridiculously, stupidly simple. Like I'm sick of dragging. I'm sick of pushing. I'm sick of like, overcomplicating crap and making this business hard, because at its like when I would say, and I mean, like, obviously I'm more successful now, but like when I felt the best and when I felt the most successful was when I first started, and I was literally just like doing crap, just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck and like talking to as many people as I could. And like, that was it. And then my coaches that I signed up were like, I don't know, she's just running, so I'm just going to run. Like, that's it. Like, it wasn't like I had great trainings or systems or anything. We just did it. I do it every other week, Abby.
Yeah, I get it. That is the truth. I was just having that conversation the other day about like when we first started, we just did it. We didn't think about it. We just went, why all of a sudden do you overthink it at one point or another? And I do think the longer you get in the business, you really start to compare yourself. You compare yourself to people that are new. You compare yourself to people that are where you are, and just like, you got to like almost get out of your own head,
That is such a good point, because the first cruise that we went on, so I remember somebody having a conversation, and they had said that they had a dream about Jeff Hill last night. And isn't that so weird that Jeff Hill would be in my dream? And I literally was like, who the heck is Jeff Hill? And I remember Chris Reed being like, dude, he's like, and I was like, oh, like, I don't know. I don't pay attention to any of that. And then like, people's names were like top coaches and things like that. I had no idea who anyone was. I didn't care who they were. I was in my own lane. And then I went to Tony Robbins this past November in New York, the New York area. And I remember I was sitting next to Andrea Crowder, and she asked me a question about something that another coach was doing. And I was like, who? And I go, what are they doing? And she goes, wow, man, you've been good at staying in your bubble lately. I went back to that. Like, I don't care what anybody else is doing. Like, I need to just focus on like making this joyful for myself.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. This is a good question. So Rachel, her question was like, you work your tail off to make the income. So you have a lot of people who hear about how hard you work and just decide they don't want to work that hard, and then they don't sign up or they don't last. Like,
well, I don't want them on my team if they're not willing to work hard. Like, I'm looking for people who want to go full time in this business. Like, if you literally tell me that you want to be like a hobby coach, I'm like, I don't know if you're my people. Like, I would sign you up. Like, you can kind of do your own thing. But like, I am looking for those people who, when I talk to them, are like, I want to leave my job. I want to leave my job. I want to go full time. I want to make a butt ton of money. Like, actual measurement of money. I want to like, travel the world. Somebody the other day that I just signed up was like, well, my first goal is to get a manicure every week. She goes, but my second goal is to like buy a house and get my child in a better like school system. And then I want to like quit my job and go full time. And I was like, dude, you're mine. Like, this is what I'm talking about. So I don't really worry about it. If they're not going to like work hard, let's face it, you guys, it's kind of crap to tell somebody in this business that you only have to work like an hour a day or talk to 5 people a day. Like, you're not going to get anywhere if you do that. It really isn't. So I'm looking for the hard workers. That's why I share my hustle on social media. That's why I share in my Instagram stories that I'm jumping on calls, or I'm meeting at coffee shops, or that I'm, preparing a challenge group, or that I'm doing those things. Like, I want the people who are willing to work, but they are, it's like that whole quote, like, entrepreneurs are the people who are willing to work like 100 hours a week so they don't have to work 40 for someone else. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. And I think we try to apologize. Like, sometimes we try to apologize for how hard we work or downplay it, in the end. But then you end up attracting the wrong people when you do that.
Yeah. And the people who want to just get rich quick, like, they're not gonna, so they're gonna peace.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. Great point. All right. Everybody said great call. Loved it. One other person asked about getting coaches started right. Oh, this is like our dilemma. This is our current dilemma. Do we use a Facebook group? Do we use like a third party where we have it that people can just log in? Like, do we do it for 2 weeks? Do we do it for 30 days? Like, everybody is like constantly redoing their stuff. So maybe you can give your viewpoint of what you do.
Yeah. So when I first started coaching, I ran Coach Basics, and now I don't. I feel like if somebody's going to go Emerald, they're just going to go Emerald. Like, it's a decision that day to go Emerald. And then if they want to move to Diamond, I'm going to put them in a little message pod with like 3 or 4 other people that are going to Diamond. And we're all going to just use that chat together. Melanie was on my call on Monday, and she was saying that she sends text that will be like, this is the message that I'm sending right now, and this is that sort of thing. That's what I'll do with them. I work with them one-on-one that way. All the other stuff, they can go look up. They just need help with like posting and reaching out and responding to like, objections and that sort of thing. And I find that if you put them in a group together, like, and one of them sees one other person like sign somebody, they're like, oh, I can do that, I'm gonna go sign somebody, and they start bouncing off of each other and working together. So I put together a little pod. I just, the groups, like, there's so many groups too, so I'm like, I just don't want to add another group. We're gonna talk in this little message pod over here.
And they just added into the champions page, like, the whole getting started, like all of those videos, and they're really good. Like, Kim Carver took a lot of time to create that success club tracker system and that track, like that, those videos, I use those and have been integrating those into what I'm doing. So yeah, I mean, simple is best. I have my coach training, and I do those Monday calls. So I do that part of it, and I've done that for years, and it works. But I just think we're trying to overcomplicate it way too much. So keep it simple.
I do have a training site that, like, so when they first sign up, I don't do a welcome email either. You guys are like, what do you do? I don't do a welcome email either. I am not organized. Like, I don't like things that make me feel like I'm working. So like, I don't like spreadsheets. I don't like things like that. Basically, the more fun I'm having, the better I do in my business. So if I'm like, and also it shows like anyone can do this, right? Like, so I'll add them to our team page, which is on Facebook, and I'll tag them. We just have a pin post there with like a few steps that point out like resources. And then I'll say, when you're done with that, message me, we'll do your get started right call. And then I take literally 15 minutes for that call. I just ask them 3 questions. I think actually Melissa was the one who created these 3 questions like at Leadership a few years ago, which was just like, what's your why? You dig deep with that with them for most of the call. And then it's, how much time can you put towards this? And like, what fears or struggles do you think you'll have, if any? That's it. That's all I ask them. And their assignment from there is to put up their first post. If they want me to look at it, message me the draft before it goes up, and I'll take a peek. And then I say, go ahead and throw it up. And when you have accumulated some likes and comments on it, send this message to them. When they start responding to you, if you need help, message me. That's it.
So you actually have a system, but you pretend like you don't because you want it to be fun, right? So like, I listen to you and I can see that you have a system, but it's got to be fun. So if I were to say, oh, Joan has a system, you'd be like, no, I don't. No, I don't.
It's like Ryan would be like, you have to sacrifice it. And like, I didn't like that word. So I was like, no, but you're not watching TV anymore. No, like, I didn't sacrifice that. Like, I just don't want to watch it.
Yeah. It was a choice. Everything you did was like on your terms. It was a choice. You don't want somebody telling you what you have to do.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a lot of people like that. Like, yeah, I know. So no, this is perfect. I I love the similarities and the differences, you know, between our teams. And I love that you said like anybody can do this. But I want you to know, like, you do have a system, like, you are smart, right? You are making really good business decisions, but you do it in a fun way where it doesn't feel restrictive. And so Jess Carey's like, it speaks right to my soul. And I just like, it just goes to show like you have that business brain, you are organized, and you know, and you make it work for you, where I am like the total opposite with like, sometimes I think I overcomplicate things with systems and stuff. And so it's like, I liked what you said about how you just kind of pull things from everybody. And
Yeah.
as you listen to calls and you create what works for you and your team. And I just think that's so powerful, and why it's so important to collaborate with other people. So I appreciate you giving us your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I hope you're staying warm up there in Maine. Is it as cold as it is here? It's like -20 or something where we're at. I'm not leaving my house.
It's actually that cold out. Ryan said it was kind of nice when he was outside shoveling. So
Yeah, I'm not leaving. I have my space heater on and I'm in my pajamas and I'm not going anywhere. You can't pay me to leave the house today. It's not going to happen. So I thought about going to the mall and I was like, no, that doesn't sound like a good idea either. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for jumping on today. Joan, thank you for your time. We really were absolutely just grateful that you got on here with us and shared. So I will get this uploaded to and put in the team page. And I will see you guys next week. So happy last few days of the month, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody. Take care.